Good morning, and there's still a lot of angry people based on yesterday's draft lottery. So after the draft lottery live stream last night, I was kind of tired. I ended up doing my treadmill later. I don't know why those live streams that are so heavily populated end up taking it out of me, but they did. It did last night, anyways. And so um, a lot of angry people about the fact there's a placeholder at number one. So I wanted to look at the draft lottery history and going all the way back to 1995 when it started. Yeah, this has been in the NHL for 25 years, and it's evolved and it's changed, but I want to look at who got the number one pick. So yes, you've now gone to a situation where the team that was number one could drop to number two, but they couldn't drop any further. But the NHL still felt that there was tanking that was going on, and so they wanted to make a change to give other teams a chance, maybe at drafting first, and to really discourage tanking. And I think, the most recent example was Buffalo when the year they were going after Connor McDavid, and they were tearing it all apart. And if a goaltender was any good, they got rid of him. And of course, way back in the day in 1983, 84, the Pittsburgh Penguins did it in order to get Mario Lemieux, and it's embarrassing. It's terrible to be a hockey fan and watch a team getting completely torn to shreds. And I'm not talking about okay, Toronto back in 2016, the year that they ended up drafting Austin Matthews, they were a bad team, but they were a team that made an effort, and it was still a team that probably put more points up than they might have if they had really been trying to make things better. So, there is that fine line, but as fans, we can kind of tell when a team's tanking. We don't want to see them. We don't mind the idea of them drafting first, but we don't mind the idea of them maybe not drafting first either. So, in the NHL's decision to try to change things, the lottery has favored number one picks staying with the team that finished last overall. It has. But we remember the years that it doesn't happen, and there's certainly plenty of calls about it being rigged. And that's all I've seen for the last, 12 plus hours, and it's kind of, it's exhausting. So let's go through this, because there isn't really a pattern here. The LA Kings go from 7-3 the first year. They drafted Aki Berg, and Aki Berg never became a big superstar, so it wasn't really a huge deal. 1996, Ottawa kept their number one draft pick. 1997, Boston kept their number one overall draft pick. 1998, the San Jose Sharks win the draft lottery, but that means Tampa won it because Tampa had the right to whichever draft pick was better, theirs or San Jose's. So when San Jose won, they go, yeah, we're going to go ahead and exercise that trade thing, and we're gonna take the number one draft pick. Thanks. And of course, they drafted Vinny LeCavalier. 1999, Chicago moved up from 8-4. No huge controversy about moving up from 8-4. 2000, the Islanders had been fifth, and they moved up to first, and they draft Rick DiPietro. So winning the draft lottery doesn't necessarily mean you get the best player either, and that's a video I can do at another time. 2001, Atlanta moved from 3-1. They drafted Ilya Kovalchuk and frittered that away. So, again, looking for teams that win Stanley Cups based on draft lottery results, right? 2002, Florida won the draft lottery, moved from 3-1, and then they traded down. Gave Columbus the number one overall pick. 2003, Florida wins again. They moved from 4-1 and traded down. Gave Pittsburgh the number one overall pick. So just think of how things could have been different in Florida if they drafted Marc-Andre Fleury and Rick Nash. Just as an example. But again, winning back-to-back meant it's all rigged for Florida. And Florida's really a team you would think the NHL would want to rig this for, right? Now, of course, I could come back to regret saying that, because if they end up being the placeholder team for this year, then, Shannon called it. Broken clocks rate twice a day. Not twice a year, twice a day. Come on, Shannon, wake up. So, Florida is a team that hasn't won a round since 1996. They also don't make the playoffs very often. Florida doesn't do a whole lot with their great draft picks. And then take those draft picks and put a team around them that can contend and get anywhere. They haven't made it to the second round since 1996. So I feel pretty confident in saying Florida hasn't done a great job coming out of those draft picks with a team that can win. It's not necessarily on because you've got guys like Barkov and Huberdeau who've been really high draft picks. But then what? And it's no playoffs, or you're out in the first round. Washington won the draft lottery in 2004, moved up from 3 to 1. They drafted this guy, Alex Ovechkin. Maybe you've heard of him. 2005, there was a lottery where all 30 teams technically had a shot at number 1, and it went to Pittsburgh, and everybody yelled, fix, fix. Even though they hadn't won the draft lottery in 2004, Washington had. Even though they hadn't won the draft lottery in 2003, Florida had. So, 2006, St. Louis keeps the number 1 draft pick. 2007, Chicago moves from 5 to 1 and draft this Patrick Kane guy. Not too shabby. And, of course, they would come out of their rebuild with that in hand. 2008, Tampa gets the number 1 draft pick and gets to keep it. The Islanders keep the number 1 draft pick in 2009, 2010. The Oilers keep the number 1 draft pick. So 3 years in a row, whichever team finished at the bottom of the standings, they draft first. Not a whole lot of drama with that, right? 2011, the New Jersey Devils went from 8 to 4. 2012, the Oilers went from number 2 to number 1 and got Yakupov as the number 1. That's a sign that maybe you should just make sure you're drafting the right guy at 1. 2013, the Colorado Avalanche went from number 2 to number 1 with the draft lottery. 2014, the Florida Panthers went from number 2 to number 1. But see, Shannon, you proved it's fixed because that's the 3rd time the Florida Panthers are on the board. But the Florida Panthers were 3rd, 4th, and 2nd in ranking that year, meaning they were really bad. So this wasn't really a matter of the NHL rigging it for them as it was that if you're in the lottery more often, you have a better chance, unless you're Vancouver, of course. That's why I'm wearing Vancouver. The 2015 draft lottery, the Oilers had number 2 odds, and they won the draft lottery and moved up from 2 to 1, and they got Connor McDavid. So this, they get Connor McDavid here, and the NHL has the fixes in. But they win the draft lottery here. This pick, Yakupov. This pick, Connor McDavid. So everybody will focus on the McDavid one. The Yakupov, we go, it was a bad draft year. Anyways. 2016, Toronto, of course, finishes at the bottom of the league. They get the number 1 overall draft pick. 2017, New Jersey moves from 5 to 1. So anybody yesterday that said, I can't believe New Jersey moved down. The league doesn't like us. Pardon? 2018, Buffalo keeps the number 1 draft pick. So if you're a Buffalo fan guy, that's it. The league hates us. Pardon? If the league hated Buffalo, they would have dropped from number 1 to number 4 that year. The reality is they show us the draft lottery. They show us the procedure after, and it's boring as hell to watch. They show us the whole thing. I mean, it's boring, but it's still rigged. 2019, New Jersey moved from 3 to 1. And again, there's 3 times New Jersey's up there. They're rigging it for New Jersey. No, New Jersey's just been bad for a long time. So you have a better chance of showing up on the board if you're bad for a long time. This year, it's a big old NHL logo in the number 1 spot, which led everybody to go, that's it, the NHL has it rigged. But when you go in the order of balls and you look at Team E, who would have been Team E if the NHL had gone by points percentage and decided to only have 16 teams in the playoffs instead of 24? Winnipeg. That was Winnipeg's pick. And no, it doesn't mean that it would have been different if that had been Winnipeg's pick. It doesn't mean that the whole draft process would have been changed just to give it to somebody else. This is where it gets ridiculous, and the NHL is as transparent as they can be about it. The real issue here is something simple. So Detroit finishes last this year. Their odds of drafting first overall, 18.5%. The best odds in the draft. Now, yes, Ottawa had better odds because they had the number 2 and number 3 spots. They dropped to 3 and 5. Second overall could have gone to Detroit, 16.5% chance. Third, 14.4% chance. They had a 50.6% chance of drafting 4th. Take it from a Canuck fan that's watched them drop in the draft lottery a few times. This is just how this is set up. You finish last in the league, you're probably drafting 4th. Yes, you do have a chance to end up drafting first. It does happen. But odds are you're probably going to end up drafting at least 4th. Maybe you get that 3rd pick. Now, the interesting thing, of course, is it means you have a 49.4% chance of drafting in the top 3. But you have a better chance than that of drafting number 4. Steve Yzerman himself said, he wasn't surprised. And I'm sure he wasn't. I know as a Canuck fan, you're going, I hope we get a top 3, but we're probably going to get number 5. Hey, look, guys, we're number 5. Well, we might, but we're probably going to be number 7. Hey, check it out, we're number 7. Because the odds are set up that way. Now, LA, who got the number 2 draft pick, and we know them right now to be the winner of it, right? 9.5% chance of drafting first, 9.6% chance of drafting second, 9.7% chance of drafting third, 2.8% chance of drafting fourth. So that's where things get really interesting with the way that this whole lottery thing works. Their odds were better of drafting either first, second, or third than fourth. Fifth, 26.1%, seventh, 34.0%, and eighth, 8.3%. So when you look at it, this tells you there was about a 29% chance of LA drafting in the top 3. But it's a lottery. It's a lottery. So the odds are the odds. It's still less than 1 in 5 chance that those balls are going to come out in an order that tells you Detroit won. There's less than 1 in 5 chance that it's going to tell you Detroit was second. Less than a 1 in 5 chance Detroit's going to be third. So it's, you know, and it's not a matter of the odds getting appreciably better. Because here's the other thing. So the first taken here is Team E. Well, you take them out of the mix. That doesn't really change your odds. So as soon as a long shot gets that number 1 draft pick, chaos reigns with picks number 2 and 3. I think the draft lottery, as much as people may not like it, it generates a lot of interest. At its peak yesterday, there were about, that I saw, it was 9,400 people watching the live stream on this channel. I guarantee Sportsnet got great ratings, the NHL Network, NBC Sports Network, they all got great ratings. If the NHL goes back to an old system where you only have 1 pick and you can only move up 4 spots, it would generate some interest. Nowhere near what it does right now. It is a legit lottery. And people react to this the same way that they would for a lotto where they have a chance to win $40 million. There's a fan base out there who, after phase 1, wins the lottery, gets Alexis Lafreniere. And so it's a tough day for Lafreniere because he doesn't know where he's going. But I would argue it's a great day for hockey fans. And it means that you don't reward tanking. And Detroit's still going to get a good pick at 4. You have to look at the draft and say, all right, so where is the best player drafted? And I'm going to do a video on that soon. The best player from each draft and what draft pick they were. And whether it's your number 1, your number 2, your number 3, where is your best pick likely going to come from? Because honestly, as much as it's fun to watch the lottery and see those top picks go, it's your scouting staff and the ability to find late first round steals, the ability to find steals in rounds 2, 3, 4, and beyond. That's what separates teams from other teams. There are teams on this board that haven't won a Stanley Cup since then. So 95, it's LA. They won the Cup in 2012. Aki Berg had nothing to do with that. 1996, it's Ottawa. Nope. 1997, Joe Thornton was drafted first overall by Boston. The trade of Thornton was a sign that they were going towards Bergeron rather than building around Thornton. They win a Cup in 2011. You can decide whether or not that pick had anything to do with it. 1998, LeCavalier goes to Tampa Bay. They'd win a Cup in 2004. That's the first one you can look at and say, well, that did lead to a Stanley Cup. 1999, Chicago goes from 8 to 4. They wouldn't win a Cup till 11 years later. The Islanders in 2000, 2001 Atlanta, 2002 Florida, 2003 Florida. I know they traded it to Pittsburgh. That doesn't count. It's still Florida's pick that they should have held on to. 2004 Washington. Yeah, Washington wins a Cup with what's his face? Oh yeah, Ovechkin. In 2018. So it's still 14 years later. And they didn't win it just because of Ovechkin. They built a really good team. 2005, Pittsburgh, and of course Sidney Crosby, and yes, he would win 3 Stanley Cups. 2006, St. Louis. That's Johnson at number 1 for St. Louis. They wouldn't win till 2019. Johnson not a part of that team. And if you're going to say, well, the guy that, the trade with Johnson that ended up leading to, yeah, that's what they do with their assets that ends up leading to a Stanley Cup. Not the pick that they got at number 1 here. 2007, moving from 5 to 1, Chicago. They get Kane. Kane was a big part of their Stanley Cup victories in 2010, 2013, and 2015. 2008, Tampa Bay drafts at 1. We're still waiting on a Stanley Cup from them since then. 2009, the Islanders, nope. 2010, Oilers, no cup there. 2011, New Jersey, no cup there. 2012, Oilers, nope. 2013, Colorado, nope. 2014, Florida, no. 2015, Oilers, nah. 2016, Toronto, not really. 2017, New Jersey, right. 2018, Buffalo, are you kidding? 2019, the New Jersey Devils, nothing for them yet. So this is the thing. You can look back and go, well, you know, these guys won with their picks they got in the lottery. I could answer and say no team that's won the draft lottery since 2008 has won the Stanley Cup. So I could say, you know what? It's a longer jinx to win the draft lottery than winning the President's Trophy. So it's all how you look at it. And I don't see a pattern that tells me that the NHL is playing favorites. And people are going to say, well, Chicago's going to win the draft lottery. Chicago wasn't very good this year. I don't know if people are paying attention, but Chicago was not a consistently good team. And yeah, they could use a number 1 draft pick because things are falling apart. And they could fall apart again next year. So it is very easy to come down on this system and say that because it's a placeholder that gets number 1. I see you, NHL Seattle, and what you did yesterday on Twitter, you cheeky monkeys watching my live stream. But if it had been Winnipeg, that was revealed as the winner yesterday, are you mad right now? Are you really mad right now? I would answer yes. Because they already have Line A, they have Scheifele, they have Connor, they have Wheeler, they have lots of really good forwards, and you throw Lafreniere in there. So if you're a Winnipeg fan and you're mad today, that I understand. If you're kind of mad. But if your team gets knocked out in the play-in round, and you have a 1 in 8 chance at this, and if it goes to Montreal, good. I genuinely think that would be great if it went to Montreal. If it goes to Pittsburgh, all right, well, Pittsburgh didn't make it through the play-in round. And we'll all get mad, and then we'll all get over it. Because it doesn't necessarily mean Pittsburgh's going to win a bunch of Stanley Cups with Lafreniere. It just means they now have a new franchise player to replace the other one when he decides it's time to hang him up. Which is going to be a while yet, because I'm pretty sure Crosby's not human. So there you go. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. And can't wait till next year when we have all new outrage with the 2021 lottery. Keep in mind, if we don't have a 2020-2021 season, if they don't find a safe way to do it, we'll end up with a 2005 lottery type situation. You guys think you're mad now? Maybe save it for next year. And I'll see you then. Thank you guys so much for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.